Are we live? Is this thing on? Um, what's up? How's it going? Um, hoping that the internet can hold strong while I'm chilling out here after practice. Um, I have your questions to be answered. Let's see here. Is it going slow? Is it going too slow? Should I switch to my just phone exclusively? Hit me up in the comments. Tell me if this is kind of buffering or if it's keeping up with my movement. And Eric Koshani says thumbs up. My dad says hi. Hi, Dad. How are you? Chris Ben in the house. What up? Um, Josh Sicard, you're on. Thank you. Brittany Nicole and Matt Tyscan. Say hello. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us. I'm Ari Temkin with 105 through the Fan. I am the Dallas Cowboys pre and post game host. Eric Kushani's already ahead of me. Says, "What's up, Ari? Practice looked great." Um, yeah, I mean, again, I think the offense is going through some struggles. I think the defense again looked ahead of them in my second evening practice. So, that's sort of my Josh Sicard says a little laggy. I'll try to break through that. Hopefully, it won't maintain. But let me know. Kurt Reed says, "Who are you?" Kurt, I'm Ari Temkin. Nice to meet you. I'm with 105 through the Fan. I'm the Cowboys pre and post game host, and I'm also doing some post practice breakdowns for the Cowboys right here at training camp on Phantom, as well as the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page, as well as the Dallas Cowboys Report page, as well as Law Nation, Silver and Blue Nation, some other pages as well. So thank you to all of our partners. Tim Hudson says, "What's up, brother? Go Cowboys." What are your questions? So they had two practices today. They had their walkthrough earlier, and then they had just finished with their. Let me hold on one second. They just finished with their evening practice, which is normally the more intense, more in-depth practice, and things that stood out. Well, one, Chidobe Awuzie. That guy is a star. He looks the part. He plays the part. I don't know if it was just a combination of, Cowboys being off, or if, Chidobe's just that good. But every time they go to his side, it seems like he's breaking up passes. He's physical at the line of scrimmage. He really bumps guys to keep them off their routes. He's confident. He's got the swagger about him. I don't think there's any question that Chidobe Awuzie is going to be a star for this defense, and probably as early as this year. Certainly the observation that stood out most to me. Ryan Ariano says, "How'd Dak look to you?" Okay at times, but then there are other times, especially in 11 on 11, it seems like he's checking down a lot. He's not really completing passes down the field. They're really trying to get Deontay Thompson the ball down the field as a deep threat. I've talked often about, I think Gallup is their deep threat, but most of the opportunities we're seeing, at least early on from the passing game, is Deontay Thompson's their go-to guy down the field, and they just haven't been able to connect. So we see Dak being pretty consistent over the middle of the field, underneath, but I don't know that we've seen a ton from Prescott down the field with throws down the field. All right, hopefully that is a little bit. Is it still lagging? Hit me up in the comments if it's still lagging. I'm trying to work through this as I've got a couple of ways to try and do this from the field, but internet's not great. I've had consistency from my phone, but it's not as good. All right, let's get to the comments. Surin Praja says, "How's Dak look in terms of leading the team this season?" Look, I don't think there's any question he's a leader. There's no question he's taken that leadership role and run with it. I think just through the first couple of practices I've seen, he's not sharp. But he's never been a good practice player. That's the thing, is even his rookie year, it was like, oh God, hopefully this guy won't have to play. Because remember that, Kellen Moore went down early in training camp, so it was like he was all of a sudden the second. But he had accuracy issues. He continues to have accuracy issues, but he didn't his rookie year have accuracy issues when the game was on. So that's at least what I've noticed from him early on. I hit the share button, by the way. I'm Ari Temkin. I'm with 105 through the Fan in Dallas. I'm also the Cowboys pre and post game host, and I'm doing these post-practice streams right here on Phantom, the New World Order of Sports Media. Check us out, facebook.com/watch Phantom. But hit the share button. Tyreek Woods wants to know how the receivers are looking. looking good. So I talked about this on my earlier stream, but had a chance to visit with Sanjay Lal, the Cowboys wide receivers coach, and he basically talked about, because there's been a lot of discussions about Cole Beasley working some routes on the outside. Cole Beasley obviously has been known throughout his course of his career as a slot guy, but now they're working him a little bit on the outside. So that's sort of been one of the things of note. And so I sort of asked him about Sanjay Lal about, like, so you just have a bunch of guys that are interchangeable. What's going on with that? And basically his answer was, that everybody in the receiving corps is learning sort of inside out everything, and then they're going to figure out who's best running certain routes. But basically, if you're familiar with the way that it works from XYZ receivers, X usually the outside, Y is usually the slot, Z is usually weak side or strong side, I should say. So what Sanjay Lal was saying is, even if they're if they're in the slot or they're outside, that they're still, that traditionally the positions and the numbers or the letters associated with those positions, it sort of dictates where you stand. The letter outside, X is outside, Y is slot, those kinds of things. It dictates where you stand. What Sanjay Lal was saying is that's not necessarily the case. That Cole Beasley could be the slot guy, the Y, but could be on the outside, which was, I don't know, I just found that to be very interesting. So Michelle Caples gives me the thumbs up. Thumbs up, Michelle. How are you? Let's see here. Anthony Morales says should have hired Romo for the quarterbacks coach. So here's the thing here's my feeling on that. And I was arguing a little bit with Sean Sharif and RJ Choppy and Mike Fisher, some of the guys I'm staying with the Fan, 105 for the Fan. And I think there are a lot of things that Romo could do that he couldn't teach, that he can't teach. Obviously he had a feel for the rush. It made him really good and able to escape the rush. You can't teach that. I also think, Romo was the offensive coordinator. He'd call plays the line of scrimmage, basically. The play would be called. He'd go in the huddle. He'd call a play, and then he'd walk up the line of scrimmage. He would diagnose the defense, and then he'd change the play. And that's another thing that you can't really do from the sideline. You can't really teach. I mean, maybe he could teach that. I don't know that Romo would be as good of a coach, because I don't know that some of the ways that he played and the things that made him great would be able to translate from a coaching perspective. That's at least my feeling. David Fahim says, I'm not sold to the quarterback's coach. Yeah, look. It's Kellen Moore. I think the real quarterback's coach here is Jason Garrett, Scott Linehan. And, the success or lack thereof of the Cowboys this year will sort of dictate the future for Linehan and Garrett in Dallas. Cody Wallace, does Connor Williams fit in well with the others in the offensive line? Yeah, I think he's fitting in well. I think what's interesting is, so Travis Frederick talked about this a little bit after their morning walkthrough, but basically was saying that that Connor's got a lot of things he's trying to figure out a lot of different things at once, and that it's not slowing down for him yet, that it's it's still early on. And I think what's interesting is Zach Martin is a guy that was an All-Pro as a rookie, right? So it was kind of asked, like, well, how does that compare with Zach Martin in his rookie year, or you? And he was kind of just brushed it off. So, look, it's early, but it's at least from the guys, from Travis Frederick's perspective, from his point of view, he's not where Zach Martin or he was at this early stages. But I think, look, there's a lot to be excited about with Connor Williams, and he's got a lot of guys around him that are going to make him successful. So, I'm still optimistic about this offensive line. I just found it interesting what Travis Frederick said about him. I'm going to try to get to all of your comments, all of your questions. Thank you all for being a part of this broadcast tonight. Hit the share button. Also, tag your friends if you have friends that are Cowboys fans that would want to take place, would want to participate in this. Feel free to tag them as well. How is the offensive line as a whole looking from Nathan Walker? Really good. I again have said this and believe this even being in camp. They're going to have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL this year. It'll get back to what it was a couple of years ago when it was dominant. And I think because of that and because of Zeke, they're going to be one of the best offensive lines in football. Lyle Collins struggled a little bit early on last year at right tackle, but became a force by the end of the season. You look at his statistics, some of the ways they measure success from offensive linemen's point of views. He's every bit the star that everybody thought he was going to be. So the only major question is the rookie and Connor Williams, but he's in position to be successful because he's got a lot of really good guys around him. Angela Rudd says hello there. Hope you're having a good day so far. I'm having a great day, Angela. I appreciate that. Romo is improvisational. Exactly, Eric Delgado. That's why everybody that thinks that Romo would be a great coach, I don't know that I'd necessarily buy it, because a lot of the things that he did, I don't know that he could teach. Now, again, and this was what Mike Fisher was saying to me to kind of, You don't know if he can teach. It's all about teaching, and that's a fair point. I just think the things that made Romo successful aren't things that necessarily translate because it's hard to teach some of the things that he was able to do that made him great. Travis Knibbie, how's Jalen Smith looking? Jalen Smith looks great. He's moving well out there. And I'll continue to hammer this home. He's in better position this year, guys. Like that's the key. Is Michelle Caples gives me the thumbs up. Oh yeah, I already did the thumbs up to her. How's the offensive line looking? Just trying to keep up on what everybody's saying. All the comments here. Mickey Cordero in the house. What up? What's good news? How's Jordan Lewis doing? How's the new linebacker? Do you think they'll make the playoffs? How are the linebackers looking? Hello. Thanks, man, from Cody. All right. Trying to get to all these comments. Hit the share button, by the way, please, if you wouldn't mind. Let me also check out some of the other pages just to make sure, since it doesn't put all of the comments in one place. Let me just double check and see what's going on the other pages. Phantom at facebook.com/Watch Phantom. Also on the Dallas Prospect, the Law Nation, Silver and Blue Nation, the Dallas Cowboys America's team page, the Dallas Cowboys Report. A lot of great pages that are supporting us. Tyler Cutright says, Ari! Exclamation point. What up? You can't teach mediocrity. Wade, it's just not fair to Romo. Romo is Romo, in my opinion, was a Hall of Fame quarterback. He'll never get to the Hall of Fame, but he put up great numbers on bad teams. He was not a mediocre player. It was a really, really good player on some really bad teams that were cap-strapped. Let's see. Just trying to check out all the pages. So bear with me, everybody. Hit the share button while you bear with me. Again, it doesn't bring all of the comments from all you great people watching this into one place, so I have to sort of go through all the pages and all of our friends and partners check out what everybody's saying. Adrian Armstrong says, Tolo, turn it on, leave it on. Boom, love it. Thank you, Adrian, on the Silver and Blue Nation page. How many days until the season starts? I don't know, Adrian, but we're not that far off. David Garcia, what's your take on the coaching some or a lot of blame? Look, David, I'm not a huge fan of Jason Garrett as their head coach. I think Jason is great at motivating guys. I think he's a philosophical kind of a leader. I think there are a lot of things that Jason Garrett does very well. One of the things I don't think he does well is evolve, adapt within a game, within a season. And especially, again, I'll continue to hammer this point home. When it comes to, advanced analytics, there are a lot of ways in which you can look at numbers and that they can tell you certain ways that you could exploit the modern game. Certain things that are, that are better off to do when it comes to the advanced. It just seems like he's sort of married to old school techniques and not really willing to entertain some of these sort of advanced analytics that could give him a major advantage, especially when it comes to play calling, game planning. So I worry about the ability for him to evolve and to start to utilize some of these advanced analytics to really guide his play calling, guide his game planning, that I think could be a major advantage for him. William Rowe on the Dallas Cowboys Report says, is Randy Gregory practicing yet? The answer to that question is no. It's very befuddling. Tim Moore says hello. Hello, Tim Moore. I don't really understand this, William, and I spoke with Randy Gregory's agent. He told me that it's at this point completely up to the training staff who are watching him, and he looks fine. He's moving well. He was out here, during the walkthrough this morning. He was moving very well. He's lost so much time with all the suspensions, being away from football. Don't you want to get him ready for a preseason game next week? Don't you want to see him in 4 preseason games? This guy hasn't played football in a long time. It just doesn't make much sense to me for Randy Gregory to still not be playing. It's one thing for him to be on the commissioner's exempt list, not able to play. It's another thing for him to be cleared, able to play, and and they're not. I just don't understand why they're continuing to hold out Randy Gregory. He looks to be in shape. He's lost 2 years of his career now. There's no reason to take it slowly. You want to see what you have. Now, I also think he's 100% going to make this football team, which is probably a directive from Jerry Jones. But don't you want to get a chance to see him? Tyler Cutright says Garrett is a cheerleader, not a coach. That's fair. Richard should be our next head coach. Eric, I am on the Chris Richard for next head coach bandwagon. Him, or I would be fine with him, or if you brought in a smart, young, offensive-minded football coach like Oklahoma's head coach, which right now it's escaping me what his name is, but I think he'd be Lincoln Riley. Thank you, Chris Bennett. Romo as a head coach would be a dream. No way. David Fahim says, have you seen Romo around anywhere? Did he visit camp? I'm sure he will. As part of his TV commitments, normally you'll see, all the main guys. The past I've seen, Sunday Night Football crew out here. They all the broadcast teams try to make it out to camps at different points so they can get a good insight into them, especially teams like the Cowboys are going to be on national TV a lot. So Romo hasn't been out here yet, but I'm sure he will be. Let's see, just trying to figure out what everybody else is commenting. Hit the comments, hit the share button, please. I would very much appreciate everybody right now in the collective hitting the share button. And then also tag friends of yours who are Cowboys fans that you think might enjoy this and pose your questions. I'm just going to sit here in front of this computer and answer your questions as long as you'll ask them. So if you keep asking questions, I will keep sitting here answering your questions. So you do that, and I will answer your questions. So keep posting your questions. I guess I didn't post this to the Law Nation page. Apologies. I thought I meant to. I meant to, but I didn't. Let's see here. I'm going to get back to the America's Team page. Dallas Cowboys America's Team. What up? By the way, you might be asking, hey, who is this moron with the weird Leaf shirt that I'm talking to right now? My name's Ari Temkin. I'm with 105 to the Fan. And I am the Cowboys pre- and post-game host. And I'm also with Phantom, facebook.com/Watch Phantom, where I'll be doing a lot of these streams. I did 3 streams today, guys. 3 streams right here for practice. So if you're interested in the Cowboys, make sure to follow the page at facebook.com/Watch Phantom, because I'm out here every day this week doing 3 streams. So, Ray Pierce tagged Mark Hoskins. Thank you for doing that, buddy. I'm trying to catch up on what everybody's been saying. Tim Hudson said, if you remember, though, Dak's first year, he was working with Mark Sanchez more than Romo. Yeah, he was. Dak and Mark Sanchez were like besties. Kurt Reese says, and David Irving is inactive too, right? Yeah, David Irving, he's got a 4-game suspension he's facing, so he could be here now with this team, but he's getting his life in order. So look, I mean, he's rehab. There's been rumors about rehab. I mean, whatever he needs to do to get his life back in order, he needs to do that, because there are more important things in football in his life. So David Irving isn't here. He could be with the team, even though he's got that 4-game suspension, but he's not. Lionel Montgomery says, how was your take on Byron Jones today? Yeah, Byron's good. The guys, to be honest with you, the corner that stands out, and I started off the broadcast saying this, Chidobe Awuzie is going to be a star. And it's funny because at mini camps, Brian Broaddus and Mike Fisher both talked about this. Gil Brandt was asked who could be the next, star. Who's the guy on this team that's a young guy that could be the next Pro Bowler? And Gil Brandt's answer was Chidobe Awuzie, and he just looks the part. He's got that confidence about him, and I don't know if it was just Dak was off or they're just not on the same page. I mean, I don't know how much to credit the offense being bad versus Chidobe just making a lot of plays. It seems like anytime they throw his way, he's just the lockdown, get you on an island kind of guy, and so they've got Chidobe as that number 1 corner at this point, with Byron sort of on the other side, and then Anthony Brown is that nickel corner. And then they've got Jordan Lewis basically being Chidobe, but for the second unit. And that's, people keep asking me, well, how's Anthony Brown, the Jordan Lewis battle going? They're not really battling. I mean, it's Jordan Lewis is basically the number 1 corner. He's not playing inside. He's not a nickel corner. He's playing on the outside. So I think, they're going to see how it works with that in that situation. But that's why I don't know that necessarily that Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis are competing. We got it up to 80, guys. Let's keep this thing growing. Hit the share button. Tag friends of yours that might want to watch this. Can't wait for the first preseason game. Matt Tayscan? How do I say your last name? I can't wait either. A week from Thursday. And if you live in Texas, you're going to get me and Jesse Holly at the pregame broadcast. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Nathan Walker, for tagging Sean Kibbe. Do I think the boys are going to make it to the playoffs? So I've been talking about this a lot. My prediction was 10-6, but I don't know. I feel like their head coach is a major liability in their ability to go 10-6. I worry about his ability to evolve, adapt to things we're talking about, utilize. There's an advanced analytic out there that you get more yards when you throw the ball on first down versus when you run the ball on first down. and the Cowboys obviously are a team that runs the ball a lot in first down. The other one is that you throw when there's a lot of success when you throw the ball on early downs to your running back. The Cowboys have a extremely good pass catching running back at their disposal that they should be utilizing in the passing game more. So it's those kinds of things where it's like, if Garrett were to look at some of the data, the evidence that suggests, hey, you should be throwing more at first down. You should be using Zeke Elliott more in the passing game, especially in early down situations. That's why I have more confidence in him. I just don't have confidence that he's the type of coach that's willing to do that. I think the Cowboys have a ton of talent. I think their offense is going to be top 5 because in the NFL because their offensive line is that good and their running game is that good. But my concern with their ability to make the playoffs this year is their head coach too much of a liability. And I think in many ways it's a way to win if you're a Cowboys fan, because if you don't like Garrett and they don't make the playoffs, then he's probably gone. But if you like the Cowboys, you want them to be successful, then either they're going to win and make the playoffs and Garrett's job will be saved, or they're not going to make the playoffs and Garrett's job will be lost. Jason Wilson says, how does Zeke look? He looks fantastic. He's great. Vaughn Bug says, what's your take on Gallup? By the way, let's do something new. If I answer your question, will you hit the share button? Is that a deal we could do? A little handshake deal there for everybody watching this? If I answer your question, hit the share. That's the compensation, huh? How does that work? We're on the honor system here, so I'm asking you to do that politely. If I answer your question, please hit the share button. That'd be great. I'm Ari Temkin, by the way, from Phantom, also from 105 through the Fan. I'm the Dallas Cowboys pre- and post-game host, and I am answering your questions an hour or so after practice has ended. You see, there's literally nobody else on the field. An hour ago, it was littered with media members and players and coaches and people, and here I am. Nobody else is left except for me answering your question. Ray says, hey, Ari, why was Zeke throwing today halfback passes? Ray, I didn't see that. Here's the thing. So you can see behind me, there's this station behind me is in the middle of the field, and there's 2 fields, right? So, I mean, there's at different times, you've got some groups working on the near side. I mean, you've literally got all different stations at some points. And even when they do 11 on 11 and 7 on 7, in a lot of cases, when they're doing that, they are even then they've got multiple. So it's hard to pay attention to everything that's going on. Plus, talking to other members of the media, having fun. Man, it smells like somebody's smoking weed out here, or it could just be a skunk. Brian Crow says, are you a P1? I am not a P1. I am a Tolo. Turn it on, leave it on. I'm Ari Temkin with 105 to the Fan. Brian Crow, hashtag Tolo. But, ticket's cool too. I'm on the Fan, and I think it's a great station, and it's the one I listen to. Esteban Moreno, is tight end a legitimate concern? Yes. But, I mean, it's Jason Witten was a Hall of Fame player. You don't just replace, great players that easily. So, Ethan Doak says, Rico having a bad camp, was hoping he'd step up. Rico continues to be, Kurt Reese says, you're in Cali. I am in Cali. Thank you. He meant from the weed comment. That's a good point. You just wouldn't expect that on the practice field. At any rate, it smells delicious. It smells good. I don't mind the smell. Jason Wilson said, you mentioned me. I'm a share. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Zeke is untouchable in space from Ryan Ariano. Ariano, is that how I say it? How does Dak look with new tight ends and no Dez, who would take the early lead? All right, so my answer, Sean Spade, is the 2 practices I've seen from Dak, or the 3 practices I've seen from Dak, he's not been very sharp. Underneath throws, it's kind of the MO of Dak, right? Like he's not a great practice player. He's not very accurate. That's what I've seen. When they try to go down the field, they're not hitting. And when they try to go down the field, the majority of the time they're trying to go down the field to Deontay Thompson. The guy that I think is going to be their number 1, I've been saying Cole Beasley, although I'm starting to think more Allen Hurns. They had some really good matchups with Allen Hurns and Shidobi, sort of one-on-one situations with Dak throwing. And, and by the way, Dak missed him multiple times. Cheeto, one Cheeto made a good play on it, but, I mean, Allen Hurns had 2 steps on Cheeto. And if Dak puts the ball where it needs to be, it's a touchdown, but he doesn't. He puts it underneath, and he allows Cheeto to make a play on it. So, but look, that's the MO of Dak. That's Dak Prescott's MO. He's not a practice player. He doesn't have great accuracy, but when the lights are on, he seems to play well. How's Tyron look? Tyron looks good. We saw him. Sean Lee had pads on today. Sean Lee didn't do the whole practice. He kind of worked on the side, but did some individual drills and was wearing pads today. DeMarcus Lawrence was practicing today, so they pretty much had a full house of practicing, except for Kayvon Frazier, who, if you haven't heard, according to Mike Fisher from 105 through the Fan, Fisher is reporting that he's going to see a blood clot specialist. I think the tests they got back were pretty good. The results are pretty good on Kayvon. They just want to make sure. So that's sort of the latest on that situation, courtesy of Mike Fisher. So basically, Frazier and Randy Gregory are the only guys out here that aren't practicing. Everybody else is practicing. Why'd you put what's with this, Sean? What's with this guy? What's that emoji about? What was your question, Sean? Did I answer? The question was to Dak. It'll be fine. It's early practice. What I think is interesting is I always thought Gallup was going to be their deep threat. So far, they've been using Deontay Thompson a lot as their deep threat. So I think that's interesting. By the way, hit share. Again, if you're just joining us, hit the share button, please. Thank you. Broadcasting live on Phantom at facebook.com/watch Phantom. Eric Vaughn says Coach Richard knows if Thomas is needed over Woods, right? Yeah. I mean, he is. There's no question he's needed over Xavier Woods. And look, I think Xavier Woods could be a fine free safety. I'm worried, though, about Xavier Woods right now. That's my concern. Year one, trying to step in, be starting free safety when they've got a young cornerback crew as it is. I love Earl Thomas. I don't think at this point the ball is in the Cowboys' court when it comes to that trade. I think Seattle, Cowboys are not going to give up a first or a second. I don't think Seattle's willing to negotiate on that, and I think that's where that situation is. Let's see here. Now I'm checking back on the Phantom page. Let's see here. Our next head coach needs to be like Cowher. That's not going to happen. That's from Eric Krishani. Patrick Stoneburner. If Coles Beasley's our number one, we're in trouble, right? No. I mean, look. I think if who's going to have the most targets, who's going to have the most catches, who's going to have the most yards, I think that's going to be Cole Beasley. That's my prediction. But it looks, at least from practice today, that Alan Hearns is the guy that they're going to have lined up in the X spot, which is traditionally your number one. That's the guy they're going to. I mean, that's going to be their go-to guy in a must-have type situation. But I think Beasley, and I don't think that's a problem. Beasley was really good a couple of years ago, if you remember. Beasley might have been the number one a couple of years ago, and they were one of the best offensive lines, one of the best offenses in football. Wade Zetterberg wants to know why there isn't a Boston-focused Phantom stream, which is a great question. And Wade, because we're young and we're just getting not young like I'm individually young. We're a young company. We're just getting started, so we don't want to bite off more than we can chew. So I'm in Dallas. I'm a co-founder of Phantom, so it made sense to me to cover the Cowboys, obviously. TJ Carpenter is another co-founder, is in Denver. And Josh, who we brought on, who's really good friends with TJ, he's in Kansas City. So it just kind of worked out. The people that got involved in the project were in those three cities. But Wade, some point when Phantom becomes really successful, we will have a Boston centralized stream. Who's the backup nickel? It's a great question, John. Are you really asking me the backup nickel corner? What a specific question that I know the answer to. Cam Kelly? I don't know. I didn't notice that. Jenna Garcia wants to know why I shop at Forever 21. Is this a Forever 21 shirt? That has got to be I've gotten a little bit of shit for this shirt. By far the funniest thing that somebody said was what Jenna Garcia just said to me about this shirt. That is hysterical. I'm going to report this comment. Just report. I'm just going to go ahead and hit report on that comment. Is your beard itchy? It looks itchy. No, I just like to do this. It makes me feel like I'm thinking really hard about something. Did you get a contact high? I did not. Chris Johnson said Saints going to take it. Just saying. Okay. Chris D. Johnson, how do you figure? All right, let's check it. Just going to check in on all the pages here. Bear with me if you're asking questions. It's funny because Phantom is all joking. Like I go to the comments of the Phantom page and it's all joking. I go to the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page and it's everybody's like very serious and these are very important questions. Sean Spade says, sharing. Thanks for answering my question. I hope we will be better than expected having Zeke back. I think that opens up the playbook. Last year we were limited. No. Look, Rich Porter says 10-6. My prediction's 10-6 because they have the talent on offense to be one of the 5 best offenses in the NFL. I believe that. They have one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in football. And Zeke Elliott is, in my opinion, the best running back in the game. Those 2 things alone should make them a top 5 offense. So the thing that I worry, though, is their coach and his inability to evolve within a game. He's a liability from a coaching standpoint. So will their talent be enough to get them 10 wins and get them in the playoffs with a tough schedule? That's the other thing, too, is they have a tough schedule. Ryan Ariano says, who's going to be our best swing tackle? That's going to be Cam Fleming. He looks really good. Who's winning the battles? Favorite, let's see here, part of camp to watch? Those are good questions. So who's winning the battles? The offensive line. The favorite part of camp to watch is the 11 on 11. They get going with 11 on 11. Especially, the thing is, it's cool to be here the first week because it's new and it's fresh and it's cool to see everything for the first time. But the time to really be here to see some good battles at 11 on 11 is like 2 or 3 weeks into camp where they really start to ratchet up the physicality. Because that's the thing. Early in camp, they put pads on. They kind of ease into it. So, you look at 11 on 11 and 7 on 7, it's not really hitting. Today we saw a little bit of hitting. But, I mean, they run a quarterback draw, and it's like, great call. Nobody's going to hit Dak. So, I mean, you're not learning anything. My favorite thing to see at camp at this stage is when offensive line goes up against defensive line one-on-ones, which is really cool. They do this drill, and it's just on an island, offensive line, defensive line, and they'll go guard. They just match them up all different ways. That's fun. That's physical. Lyle Collins looked like a beast. Travis Frederick looks like a beast. The offensive line is going to be great. And their swing tackle is going to be Cam Fleming, who's looked really, really good. Eric Delgado says, so how do I follow on Facebook? Well, you can do multiple things. You could follow my page, Ari Temkin. You could friend me and then follow my radio page, Ari Temkin Radio. You go to facebook.com/watchphantom. That's WATCHFANTOM. I like the page there. We got a lot of great Cowboys content on that page. Or, as you have been, follow along on this great Dallas Cowboys America's Team page because they're one of our partners at Phantom. So they are helping us share these streams and get the word out. So you can do any of those things, and hopefully we'll get all these streams to you. Rich Porter says, I agree with Zeke being the best running back. Ray Pierce says, whose schedule is tougher, Cowboys or Eagles? Well, they basically have the exact same schedule except for 2 games. Cowboys and Eagles will play the exact same schedule except for 2 games. So everybody in the NFC East will play the AFC South, the NFC South, then everybody else, and then the Cowboys will play the second-place teams in the other divisions, NFC North, NFC West, which is, what is that? And then the Eagles will play the first-place teams from last season from the NFC West and the NFC North. So that's basically, so the difference is basically 2 games. So they basically have the same exact schedule. Maybe the Eagles a little bit tougher because they played 2 of the teams that finished in first place last season, which would be what the Vikings. So the Cowboys get the Packers out of the NFC North, and who was second place at the NFC West last year? Seattle, right? So that's, they're both tough schedules, right? Although Seattle shouldn't be as good this year. D tackle position. Look, at the ends, and remember, basically 3 of the 4 Cowboys along the defensive line are pass rushers. But their ends are good. They've got a good rotation, good solid group. I think the interior of their defensive line is missing guys. Malik Collins out there working today, but that's certainly a concern. Who backs up Zeke from Darryl Smalley? You got to hit share, Darryl, now that I'm answering your question. Rod Smith is the backup. Travis Frederick out there throwing people around like a rag doll. Yeah, that is very true. Travis Frederick is a monster. Yeah, Rod Smith, that's right. Eric Vaughn says Breeze, Cam. What are you ranking the quarterbacks? The problem is I can't see it. Let's see here. Let's just check on some of the other pages. Bear with me if you're watching the other pages. I'll try to get to your comments as soon as I can. Appreciate everybody watching this. I'm Ari Temkin from 105 through the Fan. Cowboys pre- and post-game host with Jesse Holly, and I'm also on Phantom at facebook.com/watchphantom, so make sure to check out all my coverage here at Cowboys training camp. I'll be here all week. Tim Moore says next head coach will be Chris Richard. My thinking is 13-3 will beat the Seahawks. Darnell Reed wants to know if the quarters look more aggressive under Richard. Yeah.
Look, Richard is a breath of fresh air. I think they've got a lot of new coaches, which it just infuses a new life into a team. Like that's the thing is, you have coaches that have been around a long time, and they talk about needing new messages, and they've got a new message, right? Richard is bringing a new message to this team. I love his attitude. I love his coaching style. I love his philosophy. I think he's great. So yeah, I mean he's out there running with the guys. They got coaches doing calisthenics, working out during practice. It's kind of amazing. It's really kind of amazing and cool. Leighton Vander Esch looks okay. A little surprised he's not running with the first team, but it is what it is, I think, at this point. All right, G. Garcia says, who stood out in your eyes today? Good question. While I get to my notes, everybody hit the share button. I'm just going to take a quick gander at my notes, but everybody, while I'm looking at my notes, make sure to hit the share button, please. Post your comments. And again, I'm going to be giving you my observations that I took with notes. I don't want to show you the notes because then it'll steal it, but hit the share button and I'll show my observations from today's practice. How about that? Boom. There we go. Sharing this. Ari Temp can stop making up names in the Cowboys roster. What name, Jenna, do you think I'm making up? What name do you think I'm making up? Leighton Vander Esch? Jameis Olawale. Here's something that Jenna Garcia, you will find interesting. So the Cowboys have a fullback. His name is Jameis Olawale. His wife was wearing a shirt that said "Death to Side Chicks." Very interesting shirt. I'm trying to get that shirt. I wonder if they sell it at Forever 21. "Death to Side Chicks" was the shirt that Jameis Olawale, Cowboys fullback, was wearing today at practice. "Death to Side Chicks," and it had I think it had Beyonce with like two side chicks, like on the other both sides of her. I think it was the Lemonade video. Does that make sense? Am I talking like somebody that's making sense? All right, turned into a freaking Care Bear with all this sharing shit. Thanks, Wade. Appreciate you, buddy. That's a fair assessment. Anyways, share. Let's see, what else do we got? Just kind of going all the pages. William Rowe wants to know if I think Taco is going to be improved. God, I hope so. Because I already think he was a waste of a first-round pick. So, man, I hope he's improved this year. We'll see. All right. Rick Jones. Who? Rick Jones. Been hearing good things about Jihad Ward. Yeah, I like Jihad Ward a lot. Smart guy. Like his attitude. Again, I think when you look at the interior defensive linemen, or you look at the pass rushers for the Cowboys, they've got, there's a lot of guys that have, decent names that are not going to make this team. So they've got a really good rotation of guys. Jihad Ward specifically is sort of an interior rusher. But no, they like him. He's smart. He's physical. He's good. Wesley Howard says, hope we have better play calling on the offensive side this year. I hope so too. I believe they will, but we'll see. Adrian Anthony says, is Beasley going to be a deep threat this year? I don't think so. Their deep threats are going to be Deontay Thompson and Michael Gallup. What's interesting is Sanjay Lal, I talked to him after the first practice this morning, and he was talking about, he's got Cole Beasley on the outside and the inside. So you'd think, well, if he's running on the outside, he's the X receiver, meaning, he could be a deep threat. But that's actually not the case. He's going to still be running apparently Y routes, but lined up where an X normally lines up, which might not make any sense to you. It barely makes sense to me. It's barely coherent. But basically the bottom line is normally an X lines up in a specific spot. Normally a Y lines up in a specific spot. Normally a Z lines up in a specific spot. What Sanjay Lal was saying is that's not going to be the case this year. So guys that might traditionally always be in the X in that spot might be on the inside. So that's kind of interesting. They've got a yoga specialist for warm-ups. That's true. That is very true. They do have a yoga specialist for warm-ups. Should make them more fluid. That's an old saying about football players. They do ballet. Make them more graceful. All right, my observations from practice today. We saw a good Hearns versus Chidobe matchup, which Hearns lost, but maybe that's because of Dak Prescott's inability to complete passes down the field. Dak missed it twice that I noticed. Allen Hearns and Chidobe Awuzie lined up, going against each other. They also had a really cool drill where they had Rod Smith line up in the slot, and Jalen Smith was covering him, which was kind of cool. And basically they ran, Rod Smith is looking out. By the way, Rod Smith, Jalen Smith, they're brothers, so that was cool. So Rod Smith ran like a short out, And, it was a play that was like, well, he caught the ball, but it was like a 2-yard gain. So good play by Jalen Smith. What's 281-330-8004? Why is Zach Rosenberg putting a number in the comments? That's interesting. Jenna, did you like the Jameis Olawale story about the side chicks? All right, let's see. Just trying to scroll through the pages. I'm going to go for a few more minutes, guys, so keep the steam coming. Deontay Thompson's their deep threat is another observation I made. I've been talking a lot about Gallup being that deep threat guy, but certainly we've seen Deontay Thompson be that guy. They've gone to him multiple times down the field. When you look at the ones, when the ones are lined up, they're running Deontay Thompson on deep balls. Daryl Smalley with the question. Eric Delgado has another question. We'll get to those questions here in a moment. Wesley Howard asked about Allen Hurns. I'll get to those in a moment. I'm just kind of quickly trying to do. By the way, this is like a race against time because my Mac is not plugged in, and now my Mac is telling me like it's about to stop. So the truth is, this stream may actually stop itself because my computer may run out of juice. So I'm going to quickly, let's see here. Justin March Lillard had a pick 6 during 7-on-7s, and Chris Richard caught up to him to run him down to be like, go score, because he kind of, once you get the interception, guys aren't really playing it. So you say a pick 6, it's not really a pick 6. So Chris Richard's running out. He's just excitable. He's into it. He's got a great attitude. I mean, if he should be the next head coach. Chris Richard, if needed. Let's see here. Other questions. Backup quarterback from Daryl Smalley. If you're a Cowboys fan, hope it's Mike White. Hope that Mike White wins the back quarterback spot because if he doesn't, they're probably going to end up keeping 3 quarterbacks, which I think is a problem. I'd rather them keep an extra receiver, an extra defensive end, than keep 3 quarterbacks. So basically, Mike White has to beat out Cooper Rush. Otherwise, they're most likely going to keep 3 quarterbacks. Ryan Ariano says, come on, pal, tell us about Rush. I thought Rush looked good today. So did Mike White. I don't think any of them have done anything to stand out. Dak is standing out by his inability to consistently make plays down the field, but we see that again, time and time again from him. So it's not that. That's the "Who Is Mike Jones" song. He does his number. Mike Jones. I didn't realize there's a number in the song. Adrian Anthony. Ryan, was that adequate from Come On Pal, tell us about Cooper Rush? Was that an adequate Cooper Rush representation? He's not doing anything to stand out. If you're a Cowboy fan, you should hope that Mike White outplays him so that they don't have to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Is that adequate, buddy? Adrian Anthony, number 1 receiver. Cole Beasley will lead the team in targets and yards, in my opinion. Will lead the team in targets and catches. Allen Hurns is going to be the number 1, though. Allen Hurns will be the number 1 is the X traditionally. That's going to be Allen Hurns. All right, let's just check back in on Phantom and see what the Jokers are saying. Jerry Jones was not at practice today, Jenna. Jenna Garcia wants to know what I observed from Jerry Jones today. What I observed was, I believe he was in the tower behind me, overseeing his empire. All right, well, I'm about to run out of battery. But the good news is I'll be back in action again tomorrow. So here's the schedule for tomorrow for everybody watching this right now. Byron Jones looks good at corner. So I'm going to try and do, again, 3 streams tomorrow. So I do my normal show, which will be about 12 to 12:30 Central Time. Then they'll do their walkthrough. I'll sit through that practice. Then I'm going to do a post-walkthrough stream, probably around 2 Central, about 2 Central. So look for my streams at 12 Central, 2 Central, and then 7 Central. Those are the times where I'll be streaming probably throughout the week. It's fluid, but just keep watching the page, check it out, make sure to friend me, hit the friend button for that, and then also like my page, facebook.com/watchphantom, Phantom. Also R-Type Good Radio. Also any of these great pages, partners of ours, Dallas Cowboys America's Team, Law Nation, Joe Boo Sports Report, Silver and Blue Nation, the Dallas Prospect, the Big Game James page, the Dallas Cowboys Report. all partners of ours here at Phantom. So go check out those pages as well. All right, thank you everybody for being a part of the stream tonight. Make sure to like the page and make sure to check it out and invite your friends. Tell them how much you enjoyed me answering your questions, sitting here like a buffoon in this Forever 21 shirt doing that. All right, peace out, everybody. Thank you.